Leadership is often perceived as a prized, coveted phenomenon in our society. It is mentioned daily in newspapers, classrooms, student organization meetings, new broadcasts, and even dinner conversations. In this module, we will discuss the term leadership by looking at myths, facts, and also the underlying principles of leadership. In a society when leadership is often thought of, some even think of Tom Brady, quarterback for New England Patriots, leading his team down the field for a game-winning touchdown. Others may think of our great parents, who have paved the way for us to become successful, mature adults. Yes, these are all great leaders, but what exactly defines each of these roles that makes them leaders? So by now, I'm sure you're asking yourself, am I a leader? Or you may be thinking rationally, saying, what is leadership? Mumford described leadership in 1906 as one person controlling others or inducing them to follow his or her command. Contemporary definitions describe leadership as a relational process based on mutual goals towards some action or change. Lastly, the dictionary lists the term leadership as the ability to guide, direct, or influence people. In Exploring Leadership by Comivaz, she lists 6 common myths surrounding leadership. The first myth is that leaders are born and not made. This statement assumes that you must be born with certain qualities or traits that determine whether or not you are destined to be a leader. The traits more than not would also be hereditary, meaning your father or mother was a leader. In fact, many people have the capacity to lead an organization, community, family, profession, and most important, themselves. People often do not identify themselves as leaders because of preconceived notions of what leaders are, when in actuality, they do make a difference in their organization through commitment, values, and action toward change. The next myth is that leadership is hierarchical, meaning that one must hold a position of power in order to be seen as a leader. When we look at organizational charts, we always see the person at the highest mark as the leaders, when in practicality, leadership occurs on all levels. Progressive organizations are flattening out the hierarchies and involving contributing members in their leadership process by valuing their opinions. Doing this empowers workers and gives people at the lower levels responsibility for high-level decision-making. The third myth is that in order to be an effective leader, one must have charisma and a way of presenting themselves that attracts attention. However, history has proven that many effective and accomplished leaders are not described as charismatic. A great example that is given by Comivaz is that of one of the most charismatic leaders this nation has seen in Dr. Martin Luther King, who organized a nation to fight for civil rights for all its citizens. Then, on the other hand, you have Adolf Hitler, who is not as a charismatic leader who influenced a nation to senselessly and unmercifully kill millions of people. So to be an effective leader, you do not have to present charisma. The fourth myth states that there is only one way to effectively be a leader, and all good leaders must follow this method. On an individual level, a person's leadership approach or style may be influenced by his or her gender, cultural identity, or personal values, so this is an important factor in leadership. Also, depending on the organization's purpose and mission, this may also determine the type of leadership required to be effective. There are many ways to lead, and the greatest leaders use all of their skills according to the situation. The fifth myth states that it is impossible to be both a manager and a leader at the same time. You must be one or the other. There are distinctions between management and leadership, and there are also an overlap in the functions that each role must provide to be successful. It is possible, and in some cases desirable, for a person to be an effective leader while being an effective manager. The functions of both leadership and management, if they can be distinguished, are necessary in organizations. The sixth myth states that the only necessary thing a leader must possess is common sense to transform into a leader. Comivaz states, any participant with a desire to lead or assume leadership responsibilities can be taught certain skills and processes. Leadership is not an accidental discovery, nor is it common sense. Developing as a leader is a lifelong process of learning from mistakes that take course through life experiences that you could learn to mold and sharpen your skills and values.